ask what you mean by magnetize heads.
So if you have a boy and a girl, if their heads magnetize towards each other, it looks more believable that they're actually feeling something, love, whatever. If the girl is tilting towards her and the guy's kind of like tilting away, there's some sort of negative energy going on, which could be a good thing. Doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. You can create tension in a photo. But in general terms, magnetize the heads towards each other. Avoid 90-degree angles on the arms, wrists, and legs. Now, why the heck did I choose 90 degrees? Exactly. Do you know why 90 degrees are so bad? Because when you're trying to hold up something or give something strength and structure, you use 90-degree angles. Like in architecture, you have the floor and then the columns create a 90-degree angle. When you're flexing for a muscle company or something, you do 90-degree angles. When you do a lot of stuff that requires any kind of strength, you do 90-degree angles. How many times have you seen a pose that looks beautiful where the wrist of the person is like this? Right? 90-degree angle. Or the leg of the person is not, see, when I'm sitting, I look kind of like relaxed and chilled. But what if I was in a 90-degree angle? Does that look natural to you? Does that make sense? And also the arms. And now, this is what brings us to the very big point. When people pose, especially girls, they do this. Right? This is getting really close to a 90-degree angle. So it looks like you're trying too hard, and you are, because it's a 90-degree angle. Turn it down a little bit, you fix everything. You can go up on a person, so if you have a... Can I bring the models out, please? Matt and Kisia. Everybody. Master Kisia and Master Matt. If you have models and they are... can I just move things around?
Yeah.
Here, get close. If you have this 90-degree angle, okay? 90-degree angle symbolizes strength and structure. It's not flawless, romantic, beautiful, delicate. Okay? All you have to do is change it to a sharper angle and you fix the problem. Okay? Or you can do something like that, and that's a longer angle, you fix the problem. So, does that help a little bit? Avoid 90-degree angles. The wrist, if the wrist is like this, which happens when people get nervous, 90-degree angle, photo's ruined. Doesn't work. Okay? So, thank you. Next one. Oh, you guys, I'm gonna need you like the whole time. Sorry. Come back. Soften fingers. So you have your senior portrait, your fashion model, or your bride. It doesn't matter. This applies to everybody. And the fingers are, go like that. How does that look to you? Does that look really cool? So a lot of times you have, just keep this up like that. Sometimes you have things where if you don't pay attention carefully to delicate parts of the pose, you end up with a finger kind of sticking out by itself like that because people are nervous. Or there's 90-degree angles going on the fingers, like they're kind of bent in a 90-degree angle and it looks like you're about to claw them. See what I mean? All you have to do is soften them. Now, by using the word soften the fingers, your brain just like releases all the tension out of them. If you say smooth out the fingers or something, it's kind of like, they are smooth, I put cream on. See what I mean? So you want to be like, soften the fingers. If there's any kind of tension and you say soften the fingers, it just softens up, just like that. That make sense? Okay. Give the hands something to do. Let's pretend you have a pose and the bride is standing like that. What are the hands doing? Nothing. Now, right now she's standing in a cool, like she's shifting her body weight and all that, so obviously that looks nicer. But trust me, the arms just hanging down like this, it's not going to help your pose. So give your arms something to do. Put them somewhere. Sometimes I see them like together. And you just kill the love. There's nothing there. You know what I mean? But if you give the hands something to do, you automatically fix issues. So when you pose yourself, remember, hands have to be doing something, usually both of them, okay? Soften the fingers, and now, he's shorter than her in this case.
Yeah.
But in normal tenses, can you just go down a little bit, like a little more? Okay. If you were going to have him look down at her, don't go ahead and do it by slouching yourself. That's what people do sometimes. They try to go like this, they try to reach over to try to kiss her cheek or something. If you do it by pivoting the point, so go ahead and pivot the head just down like this. See? Natural. And you still achieve the same look. Okay? Okay, let me see what else here. Okay, origin of hands must be visible. If you have, I don't know where the camera is, right there. If you have this kind of thing, and you see the hand, but you don't see where the origin of the hand comes from, you just have a creepy hand kind of creeping at the guy. So kind of like one of those weird movies, you know. You know what I mean? So if you have a hand, where is the origin of that hand? It doesn't, you don't know, right? But you can do this. You can grab the arm. Let me just borrow your arm for a second. If you do need to have the arm somewhere, try to show at least part of the wrist and a few inches of the arm. So you have, the arm is coming from somewhere, okay? Which reminds me of the next point. If the guy's wearing a black suit, let's pretend this is a black suit. Don't put the hand underneath the black suit, because now you have black, a creepy hand, and then black. So it's like a beautiful backdrop for a really creepy hand. See what I mean? You don't want to draw attention to the distractions, right? So, oh, this is a good one. Near equal ratio of subjects' bodies. This is important. Let's say you have the groom standing there, and you have the bride. Can you go behind him and just kind of hug him from behind? Okay. Take, right there's good, and turn to the camera, that one. So pivot like in a turntable, like a Lazy Susan. Just turn your bodies, like keep turning like the other way. Wait, yeah, okay. So can you guys see that clearly? Mm-hmm. How much of the body do you see of the guy, of Matt?
Whole body.
The whole body, 100%? How much of the body do you see of her?
15.
10%? 5? Something like that? If you're shooting and you show tiny little bit of the bride and everything of the groom, it's going to throw you off visually. All you have to do is tell the bride to step to the left a little bit, and the pose becomes a lot nicer. Now her arm is stretching and it's creating a 90 degree on the right side. And because we're here, we're fixing it. So, grab the arm, bring it around, and you fix the problem. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, now you don't have a 90 degree angle. Now you have more of her body, so it's showing up, this much is showing up, and he's showing up this much. It's more equal ratio. Does that make sense? When you see photos, if you spend hours and hours like I do looking at photographs, you start noticing like that ratio's wrong, that ratio's wrong. Like you see a piece of the bride and the whole groom. Or even worse, the whole bride and a piece of the groom. And it doesn't look very good, okay? Okay, part 2. The collarbones have to be at an angle. Now, this is not a rule. This is just a suggestion that I follow, and I break this rule all the time. Actually, I break these rules when I feel like I need to. But these are good guidelines for me. If the collarbones are facing the camera, you widen the person, right? All you have to do is a little tilt. So if you're the camera, Nikki, a little tilt of the collarbones changes the whole perspective of the person. That's it. If I'm standing like this and I'm taking the photo this way, it's just going to look very broad. Unless you're trying to do that photo where the bride and groom are standing next to each other and they're just kind of facing the camera. That's where you break it, okay? But in general, if you're trying to create finessed photos, you normally want to turn the collarbones to not face the camera. Just a little bit of an angle will do the job, okay? Shift the body weight is what she's doing right now, and he's not. Okay, so if you want to, posing starts on the feet and it goes up. If you shift the body weight, they both look more relaxed and it looks better. If you have, can you stand again, Kisia, just like totally straight? Just nothing, even drop your arms. It kind of looks like just dead boredom, right? Nothing's going on. Now look what a quick, just shift your body weight real quick. Look at the hip movement that it creates. So now you go from this like skeleton to like this more glamorous looking pose. Then you lean towards the groom without bending the spinal cord. So turn towards him and lean towards him using your whole back. You lean this way and then you can put your arms and get your arms engaged, right? Now that looks good. Now what happens if you do this? Go ahead and pull back. Now lean towards him using your stomach, like actually slouch over. That's what I see all the time. What about that hand? Do you see the origin of that, of the arm? No. So Pepe, how many problems do you see here?
At least 3.
Give me the main ones you see.
The main ones is she's not shifting her body, and then her spinal cord is not straight.
Yeah, it's bent a little bit here.
And then I can't see the origin of her hand.
Of her hand. And
the arm just straight.
You get the monkey arm going on.
Yeah.
Just kind of like sitting there, right? Okay. Create gaps against walls with lower back and elbows. In other words, if you have a wall and you're going to use it, let's pretend there's a wall here. Now what you want to do, let's come this real quick, face the camera this way. You don't want to have the lower back to be flat against the wall. You want the lower back to have a gap. So you basically enhance the chest, the bust or whatever. It also creates a little bit of a gap in the back. And light can get through that and it makes her look thinner. Same thing with elbows. You want to create a gap between the elbows and the waist. Because if Kisia's looking at you this way, of course she's got like the perfect waist, but okay, right there. You just gave her 3 inches each side of her body, right? A little bit of a gap, now light can get through and it makes her a lot thinner. So when you're posing, you're like, how can I keep track of all this? Well, that's why you have to do it a little bit at a time. Like, bring some friends over and just pose and just concentrate on the gaps of the elbows and the gaps of the lower back. And little by little, it will become second nature to you. Okay? When I'm posing people, these little red flags just come up, and I know exactly where the red flag is. So I just fix it. That's why you can have unlimited poses. Okay?
I have a question.
Yeah.
About shifting body weight for a man. I know how to shift the body weight for a woman, but how can I shift the body weight for a man without looking feminine?
You don't have to, because if the guy is just sitting, let's say you're trying to pose him in front of a wall. If he just shifts his body weight, leans his back against the wall, he's going to look good.
Okay.
The only problem is in a guy, if you tilt the head towards the high shoulder, you're going to make him look
feminine. Yeah.
Very feminine. I mean, look at this. I'm going to stand this way, right? I'm going to tilt my head towards my lower shoulder. I look like a man. Now I'm going to go like this, and I look very girly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So these are the kinds of structure. This is like the grammar of the English language. This is what I'm talking about. You put all these things into this little grammar, and you can do anything you want. Okay?
Thank you.
One hand higher than the other, avoid mirroring. So, let's say they're facing each other, and she's got her arms around his waist, and he's got his arms around her, okay? How many of us have done this pose? Like freaking everybody, right? If you do this, you're creating a mirror between each other. So the girl is mirroring herself, and it doesn't look very realistic. If you're trying to hug, keep turning like pivot table, it looks very prom pose, like it looks very contrived, like you're trying very hard to just put them together. It looks very forced. To soften it, put one hand, get closer to each other, put one hand higher than the other, and it turns the whole photo around. You see that? Now all you gotta do is keep rotating. Put her body this way, yep, this way, this way. The reason why I pulled her arm more is so I could see the origin of the hand. If I would have done this, now you have A perfect backdrop for a creepy hand. Okay? So I pulled her arm just to show a little bit of that wrist. A few inches will do the trick. But look how much more romantic this looks than just stand like a skeleton and hold them together like a mirror. Like this is mirroring this side. Okay? Try to create contrasts with the body, with the hands and stuff. So one hand is low, put the other one hand high. When the girl has the hands over his shoulder, the groom has the hands in his pockets. So you have this up and down thing going on. Okay? Thank you.
No question.
Yeah.
And in this post that you just had here, with the hands, it worked really good. But I could only see like her face. Do all these points, do you have to put them in every pose, or can you pick and choose which ones you're working with?
These are going to be little pieces of knowledge that you can throw in and implement in poses. There are times where you want to break these rules.
Okay.
They're not rules, they're guidelines. There are times where you break it. Rarely do I break these because it has been so good for me not to. When I've done this a billion times, and like the poses look very, just looks like seamless, natural, like a movie still. Like you were watching a romantic movie and you just push the pause button and everyone's in their element. And you do that by creating realistic, believable poses. Having the bride go like this, it's just not realistic, believable. Having the bride go like this and turning his body towards her with the whole back instead of just by slouching, you create a more believable body energy. Okay? Symmetrical posing, single person strong. This one right here. So if you want to pose the guy, works better for the guy, but you can do it for the bride too. Symmetrical posing means everything about them is totally symmetrical. So if his arm is bent this way, this arm needs to, this arm should not be like that. This arm is going to be doing exactly the same type of thing. Okay? Or if you have a bride and she's got a long veil or something, you can have the veil lift up the veil, and you do it all in a symmetrical way. It looks very strong. And it can be a very cool look. So in your brain, you're posing, you're like, I'm going to do a symmetrical pose. You can turn the groom, photograph him against a cool wall with a cool shadow or something, and you can really get a strong structure for him without 90-degree angles. Okay? 3-point check, single person finessed. That means this. If this is the groom and you're photographing Nikki again from your angle, actually no, I'm going to do it from my angle since people are watching. Okay, I'm photographing him. Here's what I do. Turn your collarbones that way. So that's 1 point. Now the collarbones are not facing me all the way. Okay? Turn your chin this way. Bring your eyes back to the camera. Now you have a really cool look to him. That's a lot more interesting than just this. Does that make sense? So it's called my little 3-point check. I go collarbones, chin, eyes. They go to a different direction. You can try it with Kisia too. Turn your collarbones this way. Turn your chin this way. Turn your eyes this way. Bam, you freaking rock it, you know what I mean? And you can create all kinds of photos this way. Shift her body weight, which is already done. Her arms are not at a 90-degree angle. She starts to look very good. See what I mean? Oh my gosh. Okay, this is the hardest one to explain. Placement of subjects must be self-explanatory and believable. Let me explain what that means. Can you guys hug real quick? If you're hugging, is that self-explanatory? Yeah. The explanation is they love each other, just got married or whatever. If you're shooting a fashion shoot, you can do like separate yourselves and just look that way and keep your. So now they're kind of like doing this fashion thing going on, right? There's an explanation to it. You can your reaction as a human body just reacts and says like, that makes sense to me. They're hugging because they love each other. But what happens when the bride is like, come take 3 steps forward, the bride is over here, and you're kind of crossing your arms and looking at her, which, we've all done this pose a million times, right? Why is he there? Like if he's admiring her, shouldn't he be like with her?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily if you want to create depth photos. But that's selective focus, and we don't do that. We show the whole thing. Like we show everything. All the context is there. If I was to crop just the heads and I was to focus on her, he would go out of focus, and it can be kind of like a cool, like he's kind of creepy looking at her, you know, kind of cool. Well, if they love each other, it's not creepy, it's kind of neat. To make it less creepy, you could have him turn that way while she's looking at the camera, and he's out of focus. But that creates a feeling that you capture a photojournalistic moment. Like you just focused on her, and he happened to be looking over there because he was talking to Uncle Tom. So that's believable. But when the guy's just looking at her with his arms crossed or whatever, and you show everything in the frame, you're removing any mystery, and you wonder, why is he there? Like, it doesn't make sense. Okay, thank you. Now, those are the 7 posing guides that I use. These next ones are stuff that I hardly ever break. These are like my studs of a building, per se, okay? Pose the eyes, crucial. I've seen so many times we post a beautiful picture and the eyes are in the wrong place. Let me give you an example. This is going to be a little awkward for you guys. Get your noses about an inch from each other and look at him in the eye. Does that look really creepy?
Yeah.
Does that look like, why are you in my personal space and why are we looking at each other? Now, turn your head down, Kisya, and look at his shoulder. And Matt, look at her lips. Okay, does that look better? Mm-hmm. You totally took that tension away. Yeah. When you're on somebody's personal bubble, people don't look at each other because once you enter personal bubble, you become vulnerable. Looking at each other, it's like going against the grain. Go ahead and look at each other again. That looks really weird. Yet I see this happen all the time. When I see them really close, like they're looking at each other, I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? Like, it's so weird. Why not, like, keep that position? Why not, like, look at his shoulder over here, look at her lips, smile at that shoulder and make it look, it's really funny. And see, look, smile at her lips because she's laughing really funny. And take a picture and it looks super clean. When you enter personal bubble, the eyes have to be opposing each other, one higher than the other, kind of like the hands. Okay, so thank you guys, thank you. Yay. Pose there. Ooh, invisible plane angle check. This is like the coolest one ever. So, where is my camera? I don't have one. Okay. So here's my camera. And I'm going to take a picture. Can you turn sideways to me? Can you lean your body like this against me? The other way. So back to, yeah, that way. There you go. Okay, here's my camera. And I'm going to shoot this invisible plane. And this plane's going to shoot out of my lens. The goal of this invisible plane when it shoots out of my camera is to hit the person's eyes first. Okay? Don't hit the person's knees or shoulders and love handles and all these other things. Like, the goal, and by the way, you can't always do this, but you can try your hardest. That when here's your camera, here's your lens. So you take a picture, click, and you go boom, and you're shooting, and this invisible plane comes out, and it shoots, and it hits the groom. And it's about 9 inches away from his eyes. 9 inches is a lot of inches. You want to fix that right away. You want to make it like 4 inches or less. So turn your body towards me, and then turn that shoulder this way, just a tad. Right there, not that much. Right there. Now look at this. Camera, shoot, shoot, boom, 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 bam. Right on the chin, I'm about 2.5 inches from the eyes. Now let's mess this up. Bring your chin up like you're a gangster. Totally gangster. There you go. Okay? Take your camera, shoot, boom, 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 come on. And you hit the groom. Now you are 4 or 5 inches from his eyes. You made him look like a gangster by separating. You know, he's like mad dogging you or something. So how do you fix it? Bring the eyes back towards me and lean your body slightly towards the camera. Boom. See how much better it looks? Now look at this. I'm going to be, let's pretend I don't know what I'm doing or whatever. I'm going to take the angle from here. Okay? I'm going to shoot, and I'm going to just shoot this invisible plane, and it comes out, and it comes out. and this is about 4 inches. It's pretty acceptable, okay? Any more than that, it starts to become distracting. So what I would do to get the ultimate attention on the person you're trying to shoot, choose the angle that's going to hit the eye first, or try to. You can't always do it, but you can try. So here's the angle. Let's see. So it's right here. So boom, comes out, comes out, comes out, and it hits him right in the eye. That makes sense? This explains why when you pose someone, can you, Matt, sit on this chair, on this wood table? See how they're sitting back and they're kind of chilling, leaning? Yeah. Go ahead and do that. Just lean back. Okay, like that. Okay. You're photographing, you're becoming an expert photographer. You're going to know how to pose everything you want. What angles do you choose for this? He's leaning against the camera. So if I was to shoot from here, and I was going to shoot it this way, I'm going to launch this little invisible plane, and look, it's going to hit his knee. How many inches from his eyes is his knee? Like 30 inches now? That's a horrible angle. So what you want to do, come this way, shoot it, and now you get rid of the knee, and you hit him in the eye, and his knee is now out of focus. So it's no longer the center of attention. That makes sense? Now lean forward. Now that he leaned forward, now you can lower your angle. You don't have to shoot it from up here anymore. You can keep it this way, and I can now stand here, lean forward a little bit more, just like that, chill, shoot, and success. Don't that's not too much success. That's going to bring the knee as the foreground of the photo. That's not the eyes. That's not that interesting. That make sense? Okay, thank you. This is the one we're all going to work on today, pretty heavily. The face of your subject should be the brightest part of the photo. You can't always achieve that, but you can always try to at least match the brightness level. If you have a cool background and it's really bright and you put your subjects in there and you don't line them up separately, they become equally lit as your background. You're giving no separation whatsoever. Does that make sense? The face of your subjects should be the brightest point. When we photograph today, we're going to take photos. We're going to light up their faces first. We're going to think about that first. Okay? Nose. The X factor for the nose. Pretend that Kizia here has like a little pointing, like 10 feet long nose, okay? So the nose, imagine this little point that comes out. If you look at the groom again, and face each other again, totally next to each other, that little point is actually matching his point. That little invisible line is matching his invisible line. And they're going against each other. They're kind of hitting each other. You want to change the noses so the little line and his line creates and connect somewhere. It creates like an X. So, Mallory, try this. Come up here. Just change the direction of their heads to make sure that the little invisible line out of the noses become a cross. You can touch them all you want. You can also instruct them and they can probably...
Oh, yeah. And then tilt your head the opposite way as he's going.
Okay, there you go. Looks a lot better, doesn't it? So whenever you have the noses pointing, it's going to be better. Now here's another one that comes up a lot. You try to get the noses to be crisscross each other at some point. If you do this pose, it might look a little on the cheesy side. Let me explain. Bring your nose, Matt, and point your nose towards that light. Now, let's make the nose lines parallel to each other, and you'll see how cheesy it looks. And I love cheese, don't get me wrong. All kinds of cheese, especially the Spanish oily ones. But this is like blue cheese. It's like too much. You know what I mean? Turn your nose towards that light again. More? It's like, oh, it's like looking at your unborn children together or something. See what I mean? Doesn't that look a little bit kind of like too contrived and kind of like you're trying to pose too much? So if he's looking that way, maybe she can look down at his collarbone. Maybe she can tilt her forehead against his upper cheekbone. Maybe he can tilt his chin down a little bit. Maybe he can magnetize his head towards her just a tad. And you start to create energies that match. Thank you, thank you. Subject emphasis is probably the most important bullet out of all the bullets. Okay? Let's talk about that real quick. If Keisha is your subject, you have 3 ways to create subject emphasis. The first way is through light. Make her the brightest part of your photo. The second way is through size. Make her the biggest part of your photo. And the third way is through selective focus points. So you do selective focus. So you focus on her and everything else goes out of focus. So 3 ways. When we do the photo shoot today, I'm going to ask you, which of the 3 ways are you using to create subject emphasis? Okay, thank you. Be specific when you pose. Don't say things like, can you look out the window and look happy? Like, can you, be specific. Like, say, look at that car and love that car. Just love that car. Just kidding. Be specific on where you're telling them to do. Don't give them general directions. They want to know exactly where they are going to be. After you're done with all this, you're going to be injecting feeling, expression, and multiple points of interaction. The multiple points of interaction is where you place the hands, where you place the heads. That's multiple points of touch, of interaction. The feeling and expression is how you talk to them to create them to laugh or smile. Okay? Thank you. I would encourage you guys to, you know what? I'm going to do this more. I'm going to go into this detail tomorrow. But I will do this. Take a look at Keisha real quick. Now bring your eyes, Keisha, to the left. Just your eyes. Yeah. Does that look like she's a bit annoyed? Mm-hmm. Now bring your eyes down at the rug where my shoe is and smile at the rug, as I am. Good. Now smile a little more at that rug. Does that look like she's in this little tender moment of vulnerability and shyness? Mm-hmm. Now look up and to the right and smile with your like that. Does that look like she's a bit surprised and like she was taken off guard? Now, I don't know what camera we're looking at, but look at her eyeballs, look at her iris, and move your eyes, just follow my finger with your iris, move them. You see how you see like 90% white eyeball and only 5% iris? Mm-hmm. That's like the ghost image, it's very scary. You need to remember the percentage of the eyes versus the iris. If you want a good photo, you're gonna have to have some iris in there. Yeah. Having this just eyeball, just right there where the eye should be, it's very scary, okay? So there's a whole art to where the eyes are gonna be. Now check out the eyelids now. Open up your eyes all the way. Just bring your chin down, and just chin down and look at a higher vantage point. See how I just opened up her entire eyelid? Right? Now watch this. Bring your chin up and look down at the desks. You see how now it's about a quarter closed? Mm-hmm. Now look, chin up more and look at something. Now you see how it's 3/4 closed? Mm-hmm. Now look at my hands. Or close your eyes. That's all the way closed. All of this is going to give you hundreds or thousands of combinations of feelings. If you want the girl to look romantic like she's feeling the moment, you're going to have to show more eyelid. If you want her to look surprised because he kissed her on the cheek and it's like a fun, energetic pose, you're going to have to open up the eyelid and turn the eyeball to the top right or top left. This is the problem. We have a pose and we don't think about the eyes. We cannot let the eyes fall wherever they may be, okay? We'll go more over this tomorrow, okay? At the end of the day, you want to know if your pose is believable or not. Thank you, guys. I will get you in a bit. Now that we know all this, let's go through these photos real quick. We're not going to be able to do all of them, but we're going to go through some, okay? I want to remind the audience that these are photos that they are not happy with and they need help with. So, by no means think that this is the work that they're proud of. Okay. Now that we saw this, let's start to to put this together. Let me open this. Are the subjects the brightest part of this photo? No. Are they inside the obvious frame?
Yes.
Right? Now, there is a bit of a balance here. This section here is the most contrasting section of the location because of these dark plants with these black and these white walls, right? If the couple was closer to this, it would be much, much more left heavy. But because the couple is more this way, it created a little bit of balance, okay? If you're gonna have the couple look at the camera, you're not gonna create that flawless romantic type of, it's more like, here we are. That's the feeling, it's here we are. If you wanna get your work to look more like it just happened, this beautiful moment just happened, you're gonna have to get their eyes away from the camera. Like looking towards each other or some part of each other, okay? Another thing is, how many distracting elements do you see in the background here? Do you see how, even though the wall has a cool texture to it, it's actually working against you? You want a piece, you want to choose a part, like how about choosing this part? This part is a seamless color. There's no distractions. How about getting closer and photographing them in just this clean background right here? Then you will remove all doubt that your bride and groom are the most important part of the photo. So you have a major problem here with subject emphasis. And you do that in 3 ways. Do you remember the 3 ways?
Light,
They have to be the brightest,
size,
the biggest, or
Focus
selective
selection.
or they have to be the one in focus. Okay? Let me... Okay, Juliana, let's talk about the hands. What do you see in the hands that could be fixed?
The hands
Yeah.
be a little bit softer on the bright.
You see his knuckles?
Oh.
You don't see it, but his knuckles are close. They're having like a 90-degree angle going on in this hand. What's going on here?
We don't see much of the arm showing.
You don't see where the
The
origin of the
origin
hand
of
is
the
coming
hand.
from. You see how all this starts to come out? Okay, you see this creepy crawler hand just coming out of nowhere. You have no arm. Okay?
Right.
Also, she's actually slouching her back to get to him. She's not standing straight, which is creating this entire like problem in her left, you know? Okay? It looks like they're kind of looking at each other and they're inside a personal bubble. Personal space means they don't. If somebody's in your personal space, your natural reaction is to be shy about it and you look down and smile. Okay? Looking at each other looks like, what is he looking at?
He's looking straight at her.
It's kind of weird. It kind of makes you look, okay? This is actually something that's pretty well done, except it's not the brightest part. This photo has subject emphasis again, problem, in the sense that all of this is just a lot brighter than they are. However, this is well done in the sense that this frame actually kind of blurs into the foreground and it draws your eye into the bride and groom. But when you use frames that are very obvious, it actually takes away from your bride and groom. This one kind of goes out of focus. You see that? It kind of goes out of focus. Now the arms are at a 90-degree angle, except her right shoulder, it dominates. So you need to lower that shoulder down and bring it back. So do not get this big bulge coming out of her shoulder, okay? Okay, what's the brightest part of this photo? The sky. Also, do you notice all of these little spotches of sun and shadow? Those spotches become, your eye wants to kind of go to this to see what that is. It's trying to figure out, is that like some sort of obstacle? Like, do I have to watch out for that obstacle? Like if I walk by that? Your brain gets cautious when it sees something like that. So whenever you have spots of sun and shadow in the grass, don't you show the grass, okay? It's kind of like wearing a striped shirt when you're doing a family portrait. Like the stripes just distract you from what you want because your eye goes right to the shirt. Does that make sense? This is like the striped shirt in the background. I'm going to talk a little bit about this later, maybe more tomorrow, but you have the 3 sections. Section 1, which looks really beautiful. Section 2, the brown section, is kind of like totally in the way. And section 3 is the grass section with the stripes. What's the best section out of the 3? The top. So if you were to make them taller, just pretend you can make them, or lower your angle, right? If you were to lower your angle, this, obviously I cannot do it correctly because the pose is, this becomes the more attractive. Obviously they have to be more of them, but this becomes more attractive because this gets lost in the background and it doesn't introduce another color tone. Does that make sense?
Can you go back on that one?
No, I can't. I have to move on.
Okay.
Give me a second. Okay. Remember the invisible plane that we talked about? Okay, what's hitting the couple first when you shoot this invisible plane towards the couple? The first thing you hit is the arm and the leg. You see how that draws your eye into that part of the body? Is that what you want? Not at all. How could you have fixed this, Mallory?
Shoot, like you said, where the plane is hitting the eye first.
Right, so if you could have kept the pose and just raised your angle so when you shoot that invisible plane, it hits the eye first. See, David, what I mean? Yes. And it becomes a lot more emphasis on the eyes. The background is pretty good. Why is the background good?
It's 3 colors.
1 color.
It's same color family. It's all greens and yellows and dark greens. So it turns out okay. Okay? But there's a lot of problems here, and the main problem is that this is just hitting them right in the leg and the arm, and there's a 90-degree angle in her hand. You see how strong kind of looks weird?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at this one. What colors pop out at you?
Red.
Green and blue.
Red, green, and blue. Do you even, it's almost, because this photographer chose the angle properly, you can still see her eyes, right? But if this angle wasn't properly done, it would just be a big smudge of red, green, and blue. Okay? One thing that helps me understand how this works, I open the photos in Photoshop, or I blur the photos. I go to filter, I go to, I go to blur, and then I go to Gaussian blur. Now you can see how distracting the colors really become in the frame. So now you see the green just dominates, right? And the person is just kind of there. Let me give you an example of let's look at this is a pretty good one. Now let's blur this. Now you can get rid of the good-looking guy, and what's left? You see this big square of white going around? Now if you have that, how can you fix it? This to me is extremely distracting in the photograph. The way you can fix it is by putting even more light on his face. Make his face the brighter part of the scene. Right now, this is winning. Remember I told you how locations are like, it's like challenging you all the time. It's like, oh, and you have to kind of beat it. Okay? On the other hand, his elbows are bent, his body shifted properly, right?
The pattern on top.
And yeah, and it's a clean pattern at the top, correct. Okay. They're inside their personal bubble, aren't they? And they're looking at each other. First problem, it looks too forced. Second problem is, because he's so much taller than her, for her to look at him, she has to basically like break her neck to do so. She's kind of like really, that's not natural and finessed and elegant. So work with your weaknesses and turn them into strengths. If she is shorter, have her embrace his chest and have a moment where she's kind of looking down. Does that make sense? So you have him going this way instead of trying to look at his eyes. If you're this close to each other, you don't have to have them look at each other. It looks really weird. You see the arm is totally straight and it's not bent at all. It just looks like monkey arm. So you have monkey arm going on the left, and you have creepy fingers coming out of nowhere, and you have no origin of those fingers. I tell you this over and over, so when you do the photo shoot, you're going to be like, creepy fingers, invisible plane, the weight is not shifted, they're too close to each other. I'm not going to have them look at each other because it's going to look creepy. If I'm going to have him turn his head towards her, it's going to be using the pivot point of the spinal cord, not hunching over. Okay, all of these things. Okay, remember I talked about mirroring each other, creating mirrors? Remember I talked about mirrors? This is basically like a carbon copy of everybody's doing the same exact thing. It looks very much like you have no ups and downs. You have no contrasts. One way to fix this is to have somebody with his arms over somebody else, one person turned, one person turned the other way, create contrasts in the people, and it will make much more interesting pose than everybody just stand there and hold your flowers. Okay? And not to mention everybody's collarbones are facing straight at the camera. And the brides and the grooms, most of them, are not even shifting their body weight. Some people are, but a lot of the girls are not. They're just kind of standing there. So look how much broader they look. You broaden their body. Have their leg turn towards the other leg. So have her left leg or the right leg wrap around the other leg. And it creates this feminine angle of the leg. And you can see it through the dress. It looks much more finessed. Okay. All right, here we go. Does this pose make sense? What is he doing? You know he's kind of looking in her direction, but why is he there? Is he behind? Has he not walked towards her fast enough? Like, is he falling behind? What's he doing? Most importantly is, are they the brightest part of the photo? Are they what's in focus? Or is everything in focus?
Everything.
See, subject emphasis. They have to be the brightest, they have to be the biggest, or they have to be the ones in focus. Right now, it's like a big parade of everything's in focus. We love everybody. See what I mean? Okay, if you were to shoot, David, the invisible plane out of your lens, what hits first?
Their elbows.
The elbows. You see that? How would you fix this?
Shoot from a higher angle.
Amen. Good job. I like it. You have a lot going, there's a lot going on here that's not working. This whole arm is taken away from where it should be. See what I mean? She's just way too tucked in there. Okay, you gotta separate her, have them separate, create. And also look at this. What are they doing?
Mirroring.
Remember we talked about mirroring? Yeah, big screen. They're mirroring each other. Okay? Oh, here's another one. What's wrong with this one?
She's hiding behind him.
It's the ratio. Here's the ratio problem. You have all the groom and 10% of the bride. So you basically separate the bride and create more of her body. Show more of her body, because right now you see this little sliver of her, but you see the entire groom. Does that make sense? So when I start having you pose the bride and groom or the fashion models or whatever, because we're not going to just do wedding stuff, I'm going to put them in this position and I'll have you guys fix it. You need to identify what the problem is, okay, and fix it. Not to mention, she's slouching forward with her spine, not with her pivoting. She's actually going like this towards him. Okay? Expression-wise, how could we have improved? This is a beautiful photo, and they are looking at the camera saying, yes, we are here. Now that you achieved that, what's another variation of this you could have done with their eyes? Or turning their heads or whatever? What would you do? Nikki, go ahead.
She could look at his shoulders, or he could look at her lips.
Exactly. Why not her eyes?
Because they're in their personal space bubble, and that's uncomfortable and weird.
It's only a problem if they're both looking at each other in the eyes. You can look at the eyes if you want to. I say things like, look at her lips or look at the left eyebrow to make it kind of funny.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you tell somebody, look at the third hair of the left eyebrow, they're gonna laugh. See, you're laughing right now.
Right.
But if you say, look at her eye, they'll just look at the eye, try to be models.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
You can?
So until this becomes second nature and we can be really quick at this, what was your approach?
One by one.
If clients are in a rush, in a hurry, and there's, impatient with you posing them?
Well, unfortunately, you have to stick to your comfort zone, which is kiss, hug, kiss, and the fountain. See what I mean?
Right.
We're gonna be expanding things. For example, in this situation, this is a very important photo because you have patterns and repetitions through the cactus, or the cacti, which is the proper term, right? But in this situation, you're also showing the rocks, you're also showing all of this going on. Not to mention, the invisible plane is hitting their knees first, not their heads. Second, they're not the brightest point of this photo. Third, whenever you have a pattern, it's a gift from the location. That location is telling you, you have a gift here. The gift is a pattern of cacti. That means your pose, whatever you do, has to only cover that pattern. Don't introduce sections that are not part of the pattern, because then you ruin the pattern. So the photo should have looked something like this. The photo should have been cropped something, obviously that's not the way I would crop it, but if I was shooting, this is what you want to introduce. You only want to introduce the pattern, and you want to make that more out of focus. So choose a more shallow depth of field, but this is a cleaner image. Like, they stand out against the green a lot better than with all of this going on. Especially because now your attention kind of goes to this area, not to their eyes. Okay? Is this helping you guys a lot at all? Okay, if you're gonna have someone sit on someone's lap or do a sitting pose, remove context. Let me repeat that. Oh my gosh, let me write this down. Remove context, okay? Remove context. Not because it's all there means you have to show it all, okay? Because now you have creepy hands going everywhere. You have creepy hand coming out of the butt, you have creepy hand coming out of the shoulder. What you probably want to do, you can have her not look at the camera, you can have a moment with each other and crop it all out so the attention's right on their expression, right on their face. This is a major problem I think people have. They include too much context. Don't include the floor. You don't have to include the floor. You don't have to include the shoes. You can just be selective. You're supposed to be an artist. Be selective on what you want your viewers to see. Okay. This is the count the fingers game. When you have the hands, if you have bride and groom or fashion shoot or whatever, can you come right over here? Okay, go ahead and wrap your arms around him from the back. So go all the way back behind him and all the way back. Yeah. Uh-huh. How many fingers do you see right now? You can kind of handle it, right? But now how many fingers do you see? It's like, you need like a computer, right? So how do you fix it? Remove something. Oh, sorry, that's the guy's hand. Remove. Remove. Hand up, hand down, origin of the hand, creates contrast, whatever. You fix a lot of this counting the fingers game. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, guys, in this pose, you can see some framing going on. Do you see the framing? Yes. But the frame is in focus, and so is the couple, and so is the background. Now, where is the gift of this pose? Let's look at the gifts of this pose, of this location. Go ahead, Mallory, give me a shot.
The framing.
You got framing, right? Fran, give me another one.
The background, the color.
The background is single family of colors.
Yeah.
That's
colors.
excellent. What's the element of interest in this location? There's the framing is one, but there's another one that's very obvious. Just the door.
Oh, the door.
Right? The door's right there. So should they be in front of the only and the main element of interest? No. You want to use the door on the left and put them on the right to balance it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are we showing too much context? It's like the floor showing, the shoes are showing, like everything is showing. Okay? What are the gifts in this location? David, go ahead.
Repetitive background.
Can you come up and show?